What's going on, everybody? Hope you were having a good day today. We're back on the Baldur's Gate playthrough here, and we're going to talk about, well, next week we'll talk about change. Little teaser there for you. But this week we're going to talk about side gigs and 9 to 5s. Yes, side gigs and 9 to 5s. Now, the reason I want to discuss this is not because, there's an issue with either one, but it's become a lot more popular recently with people wanting to get involved with these side gig things, right? I mean, there's one lady who got really famous because she parks other people's cars, which is just interesting to me. So we're going to talk about how that sort of thing takes place, right? How when these side gigs take control, right? They're interesting because they're never I don't even know how to put this. I started this video and I have no idea how I want to do it. So, okay. A side gig is something that relates to not your main job, right? Well, recently it's also become something that people talk about when they are not how do I put this? I really don't know. It's something when they are not working sort of your typical 9 to 5, right? Now, I want to make this very clear. I hate 9 to 5s. I think they are honestly some of the most dreadful things you could possibly do, but that's not the point. The point is, when it comes to 9 to 5s, right, is 9 to 5s are sort of your typical job, right? Well, nowadays those jobs are not so typical. I mean, you think about a lot of the things, how so different a lot of these jobs are. It's very unique, right, in how they work. It's not your typical anymore, and that's the thing. It's really not your typical. And so when people talk about side gigs versus a 9 to 5 or their typical job, it's interesting. I mean, that's what it is. It's interesting because you're not. It's just the two jobs are very interesting because it's not the same anymore. It's all very, very different. And so nowadays, especially ever since COVID, is really when it came to hit. Is because it's common now, and frankly it's accepted that your job is not normally going to be your typical job that other people do, right? It's not going to be your typical 9 to 5, as I've put it before. It's going to be something different, something more unique. And these side gigs, as I put them, have become a lot more popular, have become a lot more accepted, because it's people just making money or making a living off of these sort of unusual jobs. I mean, there's what that creator, not creator, it's like a TV series. It's like The Most Unusual Jobs, something like that. That's basically what this is. It's just the most unusual jobs, and it's quite unique because nowadays it's not unusual, right? These are just simply the stories, or simply the jobs that people are used to doing, or used to taking, and it's very, very progressive, I guess is a good word to put it, because these jobs aren't normal, right? Like I said, this woman gets paid to park other people's cars. They don't get a parking permit, a parking ticket, and that's crazy. I mean, she lives in New York, and she will, if you can call her, and she will move your car so that you don't get a parking ticket. Now, I don't know the logistics behind it, because you would be like, well, doesn't she need a key and all that? I don't know, but that's crazy, right? I mean, it's crazy, and people are like giving her resumes to do that job. I mean, that's just insane to think about how different it is. So, it's, I don't know. It's crazy, y'all, and it's something that I thought was rather interesting, because nowadays it's not really as common to apply to a job that's going to be in person, office desk, office hours. It's not. I mean, companies are starting to veer back into that direction, but not as drastically as people might think. And that's one of the interesting things about this is, you know, even, you know, normal typical jobs, not something more on like content creation or you know, entertainment. You know, your more typical jobs are, I mean, they are online. They're hybrid, right? Which is not typical. It's gives the workers the abilities to work from home or whatever the case is. Content creation obviously has also made a big step up since COVID, because it's something very, very well. First off, you don't have to go talk to people. Now I think that's played a part, right? But it's become so much more popular and so much more accepted to do these sort of unusual side gigs rather than your typical 9 to 5. I have a lot of friends who work in retail, for instance. Right now, retail, if anyone's ever worked in retail, not 9 to 5, nor is it a side gig. It is hell on earth. They give you borderline illegal hours. They don't pay you well. It's not great. But you know, outside of retail and like server jobs, like as a waiter or a waitress, there are really no jobs anymore that are your you know, full-time 9 to 5 stereotypical jobs. They're all different now. They're all changed, and I don't think many people really realize that yet, how much our society across the globe has changed into this more hybrid style of working, and this more accepted style of a side gig, and where your imagination makes the difference. Your imagination truly changes whether or not I mean, well, not whether or not, but what you can do with your life. You know, it makes a big difference, and it's very interesting to me because, you know, I sit here as someone who enjoys, you know, marketing trends and is in business and all of this, and I can't believe I missed that. I remember playing that in the playthrough. We both lost it when I missed that shot. But it's very unique. Not unique. I keep saying it's very interesting. How many times do I say it's very interesting? Someone count that. But it's very interesting because I'll sit here and I try to figure out really what has changed. And you know, when I see how many of these jobs have really taken a new approach, it gets you wondering, it gets you thinking sort of where our workforce is going next. You know, and I'm, like I said, I mean, I mentioned this before, I'm more in esports, so I have my own opinions on things, but I mean, you think of something like esports compared to something like, you know, an accounting job. You know, what used to be accounting is now pretty common for most esports people. So it's just something very, very interesting there. It is, again, that I wanted to discuss before, you know, ending this video. And next time we watch Baldur's Gate, we'll talk a little bit about change, which kind of plays into this as well. But until then, thank you all very much for tuning in. A little bit shorter than usual because the combat, you know, helped me out. But till next time, y'all, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.